Your listeners want to support you, and they're not wanting you to bend over backward to create some crazy thing that they never asked for to begin with. They just want to give you money. Let them do that.
Well, hey friends, welcome back to the Christian Podcaster. This is the official podcast of Christian Podcasters Association. I'm Eric Nevins. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I'm the founder of Christian Podcasters Association. I would love for you to join us. If you're a Christian podcaster, make sure you're in the Facebook group. That's really sort of the base of where we hang out. I know it's Facebook, but there's a lot of cool people hanging out on Facebook, and this group, I love what happens there. People get connected. The reason we started CPA is to connect Christian podcasters together, whether it's for guesting or for just a place to ask your questions. Like, hey, what do you do for this? What technology do you use? What do you like? People will answer those questions. So I hope that you join us in there. Today, we are going to talk about a really important question, and it is the last in our house metaphor episodes. So we've been talking about the entire thing of, I got this whole picture, right? I want you to picture a house. We got 5 kind of steps to building your podcast. The first one is your mindset, and that's the foundation. That's kind of where everything rests on and what props everything up and keeps you going. Your message is your framing and where everything hangs on your message. Your message has to be good, because everything else goes up on it. Your mechanics is the guts of your house, your plumbing, your HVAC, all that kind of stuff that hopefully just turns on once you know how to use it and it's all installed. We just talked about marketing in a couple episodes ago, and that is the curb appeal. Invites people to come and hang out with you and join your community. And then today we have monetization. Now I want you to notice monetization is last. It's the first thing I think a lot of people think about, but it's actually the last thing to do, because you need to nail some of these other things like your message, get your audio sounding good, get kind of the way your message works out in your marketing. And then you can start thinking about monetization. I've got what I think is a good definition of monetization. But before I give you that, I want to bring in our friend Amy Fritz, host of the Untangled Faith Podcast. Hey, Amy, welcome to the show again. You're here to talk about monetization with us, and I think you've got some great ideas for us as well. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Let's do this.
I am excited. Okay, here's my definition of monetization. So I kind of have all these like single statements for each of these 5 things. For monetization, it's this. Monetization is delivering your promised transformation to your audience in a package they can purchase, right?
Mm.
So the reason I like that is because there's a couple things. Number one, it's a reminder that you're promising a transformation with your podcast. So we talked a few weeks ago now about your message, that this is a transformation you're making, your promise that you're making to your audience. Their life is going to be different because they listen to your show, right? So like in mine, halfway there, the promise is I am promising you that you can, if you're going through spiritual deconstruction, going through the spiritual desert, you're not alone. You're not even the first, because God's people have been talking about this for millennia. And there's light at the end of the tunnel as you go through the spiritual desert, and you can make that, right? So that's the transformation. Okay, but you're promising that to your audience, but then you're delivering it in a package that they can purchase, right? There's some way they can do it, whether it's a membership. We're going to talk about some of these, a product, time with you, whatever that is. You're just making it available to them to help support what you do, but in a way that is beneficial to them. When you think about kind of the average podcaster, how does that resonate with you?
Well, first of all, I think, oh man, that might sound like a lot of work. I have to package something up. So I want to hear, like, what are some low lift things that are going to require a whole lot of time and like technology, like learning for me to make this happen. I also want to know if there's just other options. Like, let's talk about the different ways that we could make it easy for someone to just hand us money if they want to.
That's right. Okay. So that's a good point. It can feel a little bit overwhelming. It can feel a little bit like that. This is a lot. true story. When I first got into business, I'd left my job and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I was terrified to accept money. I was terrified to figure out how this went. This is all mindset stuff, really. But I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, this is so hard. And I don't know what to do with Stripe. And I don't know all this thing. So finally, one day I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to figure this out and figure out how to make this work. I signed up for a Stripe account. I had it hooked up to my website in 15 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
It was super easy, way easier than I thought. And it was just a mindset thing. So there's probably a mindset issue of monetization that we should talk about, because there's also theology, and not all of us are called to be Francis of Assisi. That's a whole nother theological, historical thing that we could talk about. This is what happens when you do a podcast with a Bible nerd, Amy. It's okay.
I know. I love it.
But but it doesn't actually have to be hard. So
Right.
It doesn't have to be hard. There are probably a few things that you can do that are actually easy. I want to start with this one because this is something that you brought to my attention. It can be as simple as stickers, right? So talk to me about, let's talk about that. And then there's probably some other low level things that are low effort things, right? Let's call it that. Things that don't take too much time or energy, but can also be helpful for your show.
It's so fun. And because this also doesn't have to take a lot of time either. And it can create community. So like Eric mentions a sticker. So I have a couple stickers on the back of my phone case. And one of them says red flag detector. And that's my favorite sticker. And I just went to Canva and I created like a sticker, and then I used Sticker Mule. And I had a bunch printed off, and I actually handed some out at a conference I was at, and it was like a great way to build community. But I also saw somebody who very regularly will make different sticker designs and just offer it. Say, hey guys, as a way of like supporting my podcast or supporting my work, if you want one of these stickers, here's my PayPal. I'll email it to you. They're this much. So easy. I mean, there was no special thing to set up. It's just a PayPal link. And then you put that sticker or the thing in an envelope and you send a thank you with the sticker. I mean, it's so easy. Plus, who doesn't like getting mail?
Right.
Also fun.
Okay. So what I love about that idea is that it's actually super creative, right? And it's super easy. So my guess is if you have a good message, probably in your podcast, there are things that you're saying all the time, right? That are catchphrases. Yeah,
like I'm a red flag detector.
That's right.
So exactly. I made a red flag detector sticker, which is so fun.
That's genius. I love that. Yeah. That's really good. Okay, so there's things like that you can do, and that you can turn into like a sticker or something like that you can offer to your audience. The invitation is one of again, this goes back to community. I think like you're inviting people into your community, but it's also one of helping support you, right?
Yeah. Another thing that's not too difficult to do, because if you are a podcaster, some of you have come into podcasting because you are an author or you are a speaker or you're hoping to be. And so one easy way, well, maybe, I don't know, Erica can tell me if this is easy or not, is you can be your own like commercial on your podcast. Some people sell ad space. You can give a commercial for yourself, for booking you at an event to speak on something, for buying something that you put together. Maybe you have an ebook or you have a devotional. I just listened to Michelle Rayburn's Life Repurposed podcast yesterday, and she is part of the CPA Gold. And first of all, she did a solo show about getting out of social media echo chambers, which was absolutely brilliant. And so we're going to have to put a link to that.
That's great.
But the other thing that she did was in her advertising, she said, this show is brought to you by our family budget and also by, these products that I have put together, which it was really a natural way of saying it's not free. Not everything with podcasting is free.
Right.
And some people that listen are like, oh, Michelle is actually paying money to do this. How can I support her? And sometimes it feels easier. It's an easier ask to say, I'll give you some time or I'll give you a resource in exchange for a few dollars or whatever it is, than to just say, send me your money to support the show. Although some people would have been happy to send you a few dollars to support the show because they like what you do. But it can be easier as the host of the show to say, because you're supporting me, here's a thank you, or a coaching half hour that I'm offering to you, or the ebook, or, whatever it may be. So you can be your own, you can advertise for something for yourself.
Yeah. I really love that. So what you're making me think of with like your red flag sticker, that's not about the red flag. It's not about the sticker, right? It's about the idea that you're promising, hey, you can have your faith without all of the junk that kind of comes with some of the cultural aspects of American evangelicalism. Interesting. Okay. One of the things that raises for me is why. So I love that the example of Michelle, who, like you said, is one of our gold members. She's fantastic. Saying that, hey, this is brought to you by our family budget and this my business. So why should we monetize? Right? There is a reason. I think some people go into it thinking, hey, someday I'm going to be Joe Rogan and I'm going to become, I'm going to sign a $100 million contract with Spotify. I mean, if you can, go for it. Who am I to stop you? I don't care. But that's probably most likely not going to be most of us, right? So most people don't go into podcasting to get rich, right? That's not really the reason to be here, because it's not going to do that. Certainly not overnight.
Well, we're Christian podcasters, so we have an additional, how do we deal with money sort of thing.
That's true. So why is having something your audience can purchase valuable? Why should we do it?
I think there's some good reasons for it. Number one, if I'm asking somebody to support my podcast, I am going to want to be sure to make sure it's the best, that I'm giving value to that person, and I'm feeling proud of it. I'm feeling like it is worth that. Like, I have put in, how many hours did I spend interviewing somebody? How many hours did I spend editing? How much money did I spend on the host? How much money did I spend on my website? How much, it is part of the stewardship, to use a Christian Bible word, right? It's like, how can I use my resources in a way that is honoring God and isn't wasteful, and make the most of these resources? And in some cases, some people are going to have so much extra money. This is not me. They just are like, I just want to keep spending money on the podcast. It's not going to be a hardship for my family. But some of you guys are doing this because you want to help get your family out of debt, or you would like to be able to give your kids some spending money for when they go to college without, breaking the bank. And it's not exploiting somebody when you are giving them hours of content. I mean, you're right. It is a mindset thing, but and I'm losing my train of thought here, Eric. But
so I think there's one
what do you think?
Really good way, which builds on what you just said. One good reason, and it's because money is really nothing more than exchange of value, right? And so this is the way I thought about my podcast, and I think about CPA and things. What I really want is, I want to provide something that's so valuable that it's worth exchanging a little bit of the money that you work hard for, right? Yeah. So but this is to your point. That is actually, then that spurs on a quality and a leveling up of your skills that otherwise maybe you don't have, right? That maybe you don't want. Things just get more serious when you involve money, and
I say it's a little bit scary when people are like, I have a Patreon community, which is a little bit more like in depth, like depending on what you offer somebody for different levels of patrons and Patreon. But it is like, oh my goodness, somebody just sent me a whole year's worth of support at one time. I better show up.
Right. You're then obligated for the year to provide whatever you've promised them. Right.
Yeah.
It levels up your game. So I think that's really important. I think there's a mindset issue to that does matter. Also, like I said, I call it delivering your promised transformation to your audience, right? So you have to think about them differently than just about your show. Now, if your show is you showing up because you just want to talk about things, okay. But if you're helping an audience, there's more to it than that. Okay. So let's talk about some other ways that you can, that might not be so. I've got a whole list of things that you can do. And so we can talk about those a little bit, but what are some other things that are easier that people can do to kind of get started if they're in this place where they're deciding, okay, I need to do something. I want to make this offer to my audience. What can they do?
Okay, so the very, very easiest is on some podcast hosts, they interface with like buy me a coffee for letting people to put in your show notes for people to easily donate to you. Or you can put a link to your PayPal. That is the absolute easiest. All you have to do is set up an account so that you tell them where that money is going to go. You mention it in your podcast. You say, hey, if you have enjoyed this podcast and you would like to help support the show, feel free to leave a donation through the buy me a coffee or whatever. So easy. You don't have to do anything. This is not an ongoing commitment from you. This is because they know exactly what they're giving money for. It's because they enjoyed your podcast. They want to encourage you. It is ridiculously easy. Also, if you do Patreon, you can set up levels where you don't offer anything in exchange for the money they give you. You just say, here is a tip jar for you to offer money to support the show. It's not, you could create a whole bunch of, commitments. Say, if you give this money, you'll get this, this, and this. And many people do different things. But I would say the easiest thing is to set up a way for people who like your show already, who aren't asking you for anything, just a way to send you money regularly.
You know what? When I first started my Patreon and I followed their advice, start sending you emails about what to do, right? When you sign up. And they said, hey, text your friends, text your family. And I was like, I don't want to do that, but I'm going to do it. Okay, fine. And I did. And you know what? To this day, I have friends who give me significant amounts of money every single month because they believe in what I'm doing and they wanted to support me. And I would not have thought of it. I don't even know if they listen at this point, right? Like, I
have friends, the same thing where they say, I don't even look at the things you post on Patreon. I just wanted to give you money. So your listeners want to support you.
Right.
And they're not wanting you to bend over backward to create some crazy thing that they never asked for to begin with. They just want to give you money. Let them do that. Do them a favor and let them.
Create a space and just mention it. That's really all you have to do, right? Just create a space and mention it. Now, a lot of these things, I think it's important to say in monetization. We're talking about your friends and family, so that might be different. But when you're talking about putting it in your podcast, the way this works really is hard for people to learn, I think, is it's a percentage of the number of people who listen that will actually take an action, right? And that percentage is 1 to 2. Okay. So if you have 100 listeners, maybe 1 or 2 will take an action, but not always, right? So if you have 2,000 listeners, maybe 1 or 2% will take an action. That's the same thing with email, right? So you just got to keep that in mind. And I want that to be like, I want to be realistic about how this works. You need to ask, but also keep that. If it doesn't go the way you want, like you didn't make $1,000 the first time, keep asking is what I'm trying to say, right? Because it's going to take some time. Okay. So, and be willing to keep showing up on it. Okay. Did you have any other thought, like easy ways before we go into, I've got a whole list of things we can do.
So some podcast hosts also have like advertising that they offer that you don't have to be getting 1 million downloads in order to be a part of. Libsyn is one of those hosts that does that. Or you could join a podcast network. It is hard to get in some of those unless you have significant downloads. But some hosts offer advertising. Now, Libsyn has done a new thing that they are testing out that I beta tested with them. And they gave the opportunity for people to put ads in their show. And what I would do then is tell them, like, what is my level of comfort with different types of ads?
Right.
And like, do I want political ads? Do I want controversial ads? And I said, I want the safest ads. And even then they were working things out. I was like, I was just listening to my show and they had this weird ad for Tinder and they said something about one night stands. And I just don't feel like it's a fit for my audience. And they were like, okay, we will fix that. So in that, if it's an automatic ad thing, you just need to be aware of that you
Right.
could get some strange things, but it is easy. It
Right.
is so easy. All I do is go in and click where I want the ad to be. And they may have like an automatically have one at the beginning and the end. And if I want others. Now, it takes a lot to make money on ads. There is no podcaster out there, very, very few, that are making a full-time living by having advertisements on their podcast. That is not where the big money is, but it may cover your hosting and a few coffees here or there.
Right. For most of us, it's going to take way, way more, which is why, like, it's fine. And that is a thing that we can do, but just know that that's a big thing. So we kind of covered donations, like making that simple, buy me a coffee, Patreon, something like that. So sponsorships and advertising, don't neglect it. A lot of the hosts, like you're talking about, are starting to add things where they can do dynamically inserted ads. They've been talking about this for a couple of years. It's starting to come into its own and be really valuable. This can happen. I think of a couple other simple things. We talked about stickers, I guess, as merchandise maybe, but you could do coffee cups, and or things like that. I'm trying to think of the places. There's places that will do this for you, right? Where you can create a little
Redbubble and Printful. There's a couple other places where they take a cut of it and you get a cut of it.
Right. And then you get the whole thing, or the whatever your portion is.
They ship it, and
and it's kind of cool. I'm not wearing it today, but I have a halfway there T-shirt that I made, and I wear it. Usually I record on Wednesday, so I often wear that shirt on Wednesday because I'm representing the show, right? So you can do stuff like that. We talked about Patreon or memberships. You might even consider, depending on what your show is, a membership. Maybe you have content that you can put together a transformation path, right, for people to go from one thing to another thing. You teach them in a series of videos or whatever, even audio. It doesn't even have to be video. Don't limit it that way. You create it and you put it in something like Teachable, or I use Kajabi. If you want to use Kajabi, let me know. I would love for you to use our affiliate link. That would be fantastic. But there's a good way to do that. There's lots of easy ways to do that these days, to create some sort of membership or a course. That maybe that's like down the line, but it is something you can be thinking about. And of course, I also have two other things on the list. Writing a book, which takes a little bit more time, right? But does it? If you're already creating audio content, can you take the transcripts of that and use that as a first draft of your book? I think so.
Yeah, podcasters like to talk, and so you maybe have more of a verbal processor anyways. And so, use that content that you've already started. You may need to get a release from people if you've done interviews with people to use their information, but it's at least a starting point.
Right. And you can get that and just start out with this kind of idea. Okay. And then services. So like maybe there's other stuff that you can do for people, right? I coach. Like if you're a podcaster and you want to be a podcaster and you want to start something, I will help you do that. That's the thing that I can do. If you want to help your show grow, I will sit with you and we'll talk about the next steps and go over that. I've developed that over time. Now I've got this really nice assessment that we do at the beginning, and it will tell us exactly the things that you're not doing and that you should start now and where to start. And that's the way that goes. You could do that with whatever your subject is, right? You can become a coach or help people. Sometimes just by being with them, by sitting with them, listening, and offering a few
tips. You don't
tips.
need to be licensed to do coaching for people. This is not counseling. This is you being really upfront and saying, hey, I will, for 30 minutes of my time or a minute of my time, you can send me money through PayPal and we'll set up a time. Right. And Eric does podcast coaching. He does podcast audits, which are so cool. your audit tool is like the coolest thing to go through all this cool checklist. It's so cool. There's a lot of ways to do it, but don't feel like you have to be like, you already have some sort of knowledge about something, or you wouldn't be podcasting. Even if you're an interviewer, there is something you are really excited about that somebody wants to spend 30 minutes with you talking about.
Right.
You mentioned affiliates. I think affiliates is a big deal. This is how podcasters make a lot of their money. If they aren't doing it by selling, doing events and books and speaking engagements, although most podcasters are doing a whole bunch. They're doing all the things.
Yes.
It's affiliates. They're getting like some business that they feel really strongly about, or that they, that it reached out to them and they're like, you know what, that could be a good fit, that somebody's listening to me needs that. So what you'll get is your own link that you give to somebody. And when somebody signs up, you don't get paid for the ad. You get paid most likely when somebody signs up for the thing. It could be for Kajabi. It could be for Pod Pages, a place that makes podcast show notes and websites automatically for you.
Right.
Like there are so many options when it comes to affiliates.
Which we have an affiliate link for as well, by the way. Pod Page and Kajabi.
Pod Pages?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, we should have an episode about that.
We should. That would be great. We should talk about websites and kind of more dive into that a little bit more. So again, we talked about in our episode on marketing that your website is kind of your central hub. This is why, right? Because then once you start, maybe your podcast is building your audience, but then once you get to a place where you want to monetize, and you want to take that transformation and package it in a way people can buy from you, your website gives you a place for that to happen.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you're doing, which is why I love Kajabi, because it's all included. And when I was ready for it, I could add those things. But Podpage is great as well as a beginning place for to have a nice, sharp website for your podcast. Okay. All of that is great. I think I'm glad you mentioned it, because you know what? That's fascinating, because I've been doing this so long, and I just mentioned affiliate, but I didn't even say, oh, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are so many places that will give you an affiliate link or an affiliate relationship that when people use it, you recommend it, particularly if you find yourself recommending something, right? If you're recommending a book all the time, make sure you're an Amazon affiliate. And then recommend it to people and send them that thing, because even when they click that link, and if they just take all the other stuff in there and they put stuff in their cart and then they buy it, you get a commission on all of it, not just the one thing, because you sent them to Amazon. There are some disclosure requirements.
Of a podcast. Yeah, I know of a podcast that used to say when they would look and get their payouts, they would say, these are the things that people bought, because you don't know who they are. And sometimes they're the most hilarious, funny things, because they may click on your link to that book, but they may decide to buy something else.
Right.
And it could be like a CPAP machine or who knows what.
Who knows? By the way, so these things, one caveat I want to give here is all of these things have potential regulatory issues with them. So if you are doing affiliates, you have to disclose that it's an affiliate. So that you get paid if somebody uses the link. That's a whole thing that you need to do and you should be familiar with and learn how to do. Anytime you send a link, you have to disclose that as well. So you just need to be aware of that kind of thing. But that's doing business online, is just learning those kinds of things. Okay. I wanted to go to this key belief because I mentioned it, and I think it's kind of important. And so maybe this is like coming full circle back around to where we started. We started with a little bit of mindset stuff, and we talked about that throughout the thing. I think the thing that you have to believe in order to monetize your podcast is that the transformation you offer is valuable enough to pay for. I think the one thing that holds podcasters back is that they don't think what they're doing is valuable enough to pay for.
Yeah. You don't want to put that tier of donation, like, okay, I'm going to give people an opportunity to donate $20 a month, but why didn't I give them an opportunity to donate 50?
Right.
Or 100?
Or fill in their own amount, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it was amazing. I did, I've talked about this on here before. We did earlier this year, a pay what you can coaching sessions, right? People could just buy one. And it was fascinating. I mean, some people paid whatever they could. A few people gave me $1. That's fine. I said that you could do that. Some people gave me quite a bit more, right? And just gave them the opportunity. and to see what it was. And people, I didn't even care. I didn't really worry about that. But for me, a part of it was just knowing, hey, this time is valuable. I want to give it to you, but I want it to be clear about what we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
There's something here. And so anyway, so taking that belief, and if you have the limiting belief that what you think and what you believe and the way you can influence people isn't valuable, you got to get rid of that. You got to take that out of your collection, put in this one. The transformation you offer is valuable enough to pay for, and people will do it. So anyway, all right, that's my my little diatribe on that key belief. I think we need to have that.
I love it. And if you're held back still, go press play on some of your favorite podcasts. Listen to how they do it.
Yes.
Listen to how they make asks. And there are a million different ways to do it. And it does not have to feel icky and slimy. You know when you hear it, if it feels good. You know if it's a good fit for the way you can do it. This is how I do most of my podcasting, is I listen to people that I really enjoy. And I think, what do I like about what they did? What are they doing that I could do? And then I do that thing, as the way Truth says.
Learn from the best. Not that I'm the best, but I tell people all the time, go listen to my open. Go listen to halfway there, because I love the way that it works. So absolutely, that's certainly how I learned as well. All right, friends. So go listen to halfway there. Go listen to Untangled Faith. Go listen to them both, and you'll get a lot of
Send us money if you want. I won't be mad.
You can. Okay. Well, on that note, you should join CPA Gold, which is our membership because we do all these things.
Make the ask.
Almost
Make
all
the
of
ask.
them.
Yeah.
We do. Amy's helping out with that. And we go through all these things: mindset, message, mechanics, marketing, monetization. We help each other. It's a really great community. Amy, is there anything like, what would you say about that community that maybe stands out for you?
I love the dedicated support of the community, how we encourage each other. And I also love that we get like more in-depth deep dives with experts in podcasting. So, we have a weekly Zoom that we have teachings. And if you can't make it at that time, it's recorded. So you can always go back and get it. The library is amazing. I was just looking through the library for it too, just that there's a whole library of how to get your podcast from like nothing to launched, which is worth more than like the cost of a month of the gold membership. It is everything you need right there. So it's fun. You get to, when somebody is working with you side by side, like these are your colleagues. Podcasting can be lonely because you're sitting in your room or your makeshift studio by yourself. These are your coworkers. Yep. Then when you get stuck, you're going to send them a Voxer, you're going to send them a message, and they're going to say, oh, here's a tool I know. Here's something that I've learned. And it's just fun. Yeah,
absolutely. I think those are kind of the key benefits. I think community is really the main one that I love as a relational person, but the library is great if you're looking for things to do. And I don't know that I mentioned this enough, but I give to people who join in CPA Gold literally everything that we do, right? So it's like the courses, there's a Kickstart Your Podcast course that you were referring to. You get that just by joining. So you can pay $50, $49
on all the
a month.
Sessions that we've had that go way, way back.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of recordings in there. Yeah.
I mean, back to 2019, I think when I did my first little Christian podcast summit, there's some of those videos
check that out.
Are in there.
See 2019, Eric.
Yeah, my camera is a lot better now. Let's just put it that way. But you iterate, and that's okay. Anyway, friends, you are invited. There's a lot there. I think it would be helpful for you if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by monetization. You're going, hey, I need a little help with my mindset about any of these things, or you maybe need to level up your processes, procedures, or you want just to be in a community of podcasters who are committed to doing it, showing up, and not only for their audiences, but for each other. CPA Gold is the place. That's at christianpodcastersassociation.com/gold. christianpodcastersassociation.com/gold. You can find it there, and I would love to have you join. I think it would be a super valuable experience.
I'll be there. Meet us there.
For you. Yeah, that's right. We'll see you, and maybe I'll see you next Tuesday night. So you should join. All right, friends. Amy, thanks for being here again. I appreciate it. You can be found at untangledfaith.com.
UntangledFaithPodcast.com.
UntangledFaithPodcast.com. I'm glad I asked.
That's right.
All right. And everything we do, again, ChristianPodcastersAssociation.com as well. Thanks for being here, Amy.
Thanks. Good to be here.